Can you still feel the thrill of letting your hair down, breaking free from bobby pins and conformity as the world seemed to change with every passing song? The 1960s were a time when a simple choice, growing your hair long, could mean everything. The sensation of a soft breeze catching your locks at an outdoor concert, the scent of patchouli lingering in the air, and the brush of fringe on your collar all became silent declarations of rebellion and hope. Long hair was more than a style. It became the living, flowing symbol of freedom, peace, and youth challenging the status quo. Each braid, each wild strand told a story of defiance and a yearning for something new, transforming kitchen tables into impromptu salons and sparking whispered conversations about culture, music, and belonging. Were you one of those who faced wary glances from parents or co-workers, or who waited eagerly for that first note of a Beatles song to shake loose old expectations? Journey back with us as we untangle the roots of this iconic trend and recall how something as personal as hair became a mark of unity, self-expression, and unstoppable change. Imagine stepping back to the late 1950s. The post-war years had left American culture craving stability, and conformity was the unspoken rule. Short back and sides haircuts were as common as Mom's apple pie, with most boys leaving the barbershop looking like they could enlist tomorrow, and most women carefully setting their short bouffants or pixie cuts in rollers each evening. Hair was neat, proper, and, above all, controlled. But bubbling just under the surface, the first signs of change were beginning to stir. A hint of rebellion in the air, most visible not in words or actions, but in the strands of hair that started growing just a little longer than acceptable. To truly understand the long hair revolution of the 60s, it helps to take a look at what came before. In the first half of the 20th century, short haircuts symbolized order, cleanliness, and patriotism. For men, military service during World War II solidified the crew cut as the standard, while women, inspired by stars like Audrey Hepburn, favored polished, carefully maintained styles. There were exceptions, of course. Think of the glamorous waves of movie icons like Veronica Lake. But the allure of longer hair was typically reserved for rarefied movie star circles. For everyday people, long hair was seen as impractical or even untidy. Did you ever hear your parents or teachers refer to shoulder-length hair on boys as looking like a girl? The pressure to conform was real. Barbershops flourished, and schools enforced strict grooming standards all around the country. But as the 50s drew to a close, cracks began to appear in the cultural facade. The world was changing. Rock and roll had arrived, offering teenagers a pulse of energy unlike anything their parents had experienced. Elvis Presley's ducktail caused quite a stir, scandalizing older generations, yet thrilling the younger crowd. Boys started to experiment with slightly longer styles, greasing their hair back or letting it hang lower over their foreheads. Even this small act could earn a disapproving look or a visit to the principal's office. For women, a similar spirit was growing. A new generation was yearning for something less rigid, inspired by bohemian culture and the faint echo of the Beat generation. Then came the early 1960s. The world's mood was shifting towards openness and transformation. The Beatles exploded onto the scene, and, suddenly, hair became symbolic in a way it never had been before. When John, Paul, George, and Ringo appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, parents gasped and teenagers swooned, not just at the music, but at the heads of hair that seemed wild and unprecedented. Their mop tops, longer and shaggier than anything seen on mainstream American men, were instantly divisive and instantly influential. Did you or someone you know dare to skip a haircut in hopes of getting that British invasion look? Maybe you remember barbers offering Beatle cuts and classmates getting sent home for letting their bangs touch their eyebrows. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. The shifting attitudes of the early 60s, civil rights protests, the questioning of authority, the rise of the counterculture were all mirrored in the way people chose to wear their hair. As the decade unfolded, long hair became less about fashion and more about freedom. Young people drew inspiration not only from rock stars, but from a wide range of cultural sources: the poetic nonchalance of French New, wave films, the ancient wisdom and braids of Native American traditions, the wild manes of characters in folk tales and ancient myth. Surprising as it might sound, some of the earliest American long-hair rebels were inspired by images in history books, pictures of Civil War soldiers, Renaissance poets, and old photographs of indigenous elders with their proud, uncut hair. Did you ever imagine, as a child, what it would feel like to simply let your hair grow and grow without scissors or rules? For women, the changes were just as profound, but often played out in quieter ways at first. Inspired by folk stars like Joan Baez, some college students began to reject the time-consuming, high-maintenance hair routines of their mothers. They let their hair fall straight and natural, brushing out hairspray and teasing, casting aside curlers and hairpieces in favor of center parts and flowing locks. The move was subtle, but the message unmistakable. I won't be tamed by tradition. This new kind of beauty was about ease, authenticity, and letting yourself, quite literally, grow into something different. The societal reaction was, as you might remember, mixed at best. Many workplaces and schools clung fiercely to old grooming codes. For every supportive friend, there was a relative or authority figure eager to wield the scissors or offer a stern word. And yet the longer young people held out, the more their hair signaled a broader refusal to blindly accept the rules of the previous generation. In some households, the hair argument became a weekly ritual, trading barbs about cleanliness, ambition, and what the neighbors will think. But out in the streets, in coffee houses, on college campuses, and in all-night jam sessions, something beautiful was happening. A new language of self-expression, spoken through strands and curls, through daring and patience. What's more, the movement wasn't confined to the coasts or to big cities. Suburban teens, college freshmen in the Midwest, and even kids in rural America began testing the waters. Sometimes it was just a little extra length at the nape of the neck, or a few inches over the ears. Other times, it meant growing a mane that would make even a 19th century poet jealous. Did you ever witness the transformation of a friend who decided one summer not to visit the barber and returned in September with a completely new look and attitude? The unspoken pact among long-haired kids was, let's see how far we can take this. And the reaction wasn't always negative. For every school principal with a measuring tape, there were quietly supportive teachers who remembered their own brief rebellions. Family photo albums began to tell new stories, snapshots of once conservative children looking hopeful, nervy, and alive under their new crowns of hair. The change was contagious. With every television appearance and every magazine cover, long hair was inching closer to the American mainstream. The real secret, though, was that growing out your hair was about more than simply expressing style or copying rock stars. It was a gentle, daily act of resistance, a personal experiment in courage. It took patience, watery eyes during the awkward, in-between stages, a willingness to accept teasing or worse. For anyone who lived through it, those months of waiting carried a thrill. Each passing week, a little more hair, a little more distance from the ordinary. And lurking behind all the jokes and critiques was something deeper, the sense that with every stray lock, the country itself was being reshaped, one haircut at a time. But if the early 60s set the stage for this transformation, the coming years would see an explosion in both style and significance. Long hair, once a mere curiosity or private act of defiance, was about to become a rallying cry, a unifying symbol, and, for many, a way of life. What could possibly push this trend even further beyond the boundaries of fashion and into the very heart of cultural identity? The answer, as we'll explore next, lies in the remarkable ways hair and technology intertwined, and how the tools of the trade, from humble hairbrushes to psychedelic posters, fueled a revolution you could run your fingers through. As we look back on the story of long hair in the 60s, it's remarkable how something as ordinary as a few extra inches of hair could become such a powerful voice for an entire generation. We started with an era shaped by crew cuts, bouffants, and strict routines, where every Sunday night meant another careful set of rollers or a trip to the barber for the same old trim. Hair was so much more than a matter of hygiene or habit. It served as a badge of conformity and respectability, a way to show where you fit in. But just as the old tunes were fading, something new was stirring in basements, coffee houses, and college dorms, a restless spirit that saw in hair the chance to quietly resist, to question the rules and relabel what it meant to be yourself. As British bands stormed American stages and folk singers strummed protest into the national heart, hairstyles loosened with each new hit. The Beatles' shaggy mop-tops and the straight parted hair of Joan Baez didn't just change the way we looked, they changed the way families talked over dinner, the interviews at summer jobs, even the rules written into school handbooks. Growing your hair long wasn't always easy. Many of you remember the disapproving looks, the sharp words from elders, maybe even the threatened scissors from a determined parent, but something in you held fast. 1 month, then 2, hair reaching your collar, grazing your shoulders, every inch marked the passing of time and a personal stand against the pressures of the old world. Long hair became a sign of so much more than fashion, a symbol of peace, freedom, and the powerful hope that a better world was possible. It brought people together, turning living rooms and soda shops into spaces for new conversations and new ideas. It meant singing along at a concert in the park, feeling the summer sun tangled in your hair, or standing in a crowd where everyone, for once, seemed to understand what it meant to be young together. And whether you wore your hair past your shoulders or simply let it grow a little longer than your parents liked, you were shaping a moment that still makes waves today. Now, as we reach the end of this nostalgic journey, it's worth pausing to ask, what did long hair truly mean to you in those days? Was there a particular song, a moment with friends, a time you decided to let your hair down, both literally and figuratively? Looking back, how did that simple act of self-expression help you find your voice or your community? Please share your memories in the comments below. Did you have a defining haircut or a story about that first time you saw long hair at a family picnic or on TV? Did it spark a debate, a laugh, or maybe a grandparent's sigh? Your experiences are at the heart of what makes this story matter. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more journeys back through the decades, and be sure to share it with friends who might remember the feeling of a breeze in their hair on a warm 60s day. We've got more reflections and memories to come for every era that made us who we are. So, as you carry these stories with you, remember, sometimes changing the world starts with letting your hair grow a little longer and daring to imagine what might happen if you just let it be.